welcome to episode 35 of the Work Knits podcast. For those landing fresh on this video, this is a knitting, sometimes more general crafting podcast, mainly a knitting podcast. And my name's Laura and I'm coming to you from the southwest of England in the United Kingdom. Now today's episode, I'm going to do a quick apology up front because the road outside my house is unusually busy today, but I've already recorded this episode once before on a different day and that had other issues, so today is the day. Really excited to come and chat to you today. I have got, just to kind of give you a bit of an idea of the structure today, I've got a finished object. I've got a number of whips that I've progressed massively since the last episode. I've got some kind of details that I want to share with you. I have then got some future knitting plans. I've got a bit of designing to share process with you. And on the designing and the future knitting plans, I really would love your input. I've got some decisions to make and would genuinely really value the input of this community on those. And then I've also got some spinning to share with you, a tiny bit of crochet. We're going to try and keep this snappy, compact, and just jam full of knitty goodness. So, without further ado, let's get started. So I do actually have more than one finished object this week, but one of them is a design collaboration that I am working on. Super exciting, really enjoying it. It does account for a lot of knitting in the last 2 weeks, but I'm not going to show it in this episode. I need to discuss with my partner who I'm working with on this. I need to discuss with them when we want to start marketing this. So more to come on that. But the finished object I can show you is a pair of socks. So you may remember from the last episode, if you haven't seen that episode, I will link it up here. You may remember from that episode that I was working on a sock tube of some self-striping yarn from Dragon Hill Yarn Studios. This is the Winter Warmer colourway, and this is my first time doing a sock tube. It's my first time doing a afterthought heel. So lots of learning, and this continues my sock kick this year. Now, as you can probably see, issue number one is I have made these socks a little bit big. Knitting the sock tube as opposed to a heel flap and gusset, I have found that the foot fit is a little bit baggier, which is interesting because it's not like I go down to a different stitch count. I go down to the same stitch count that these are the whole way throughout, so that's interesting. What else can I say about these? So I've said what the main yarn is. The Kontrast heel, toe and cuff is some leftover Filcolana Arwetta in a kind of biscuit colourway. And I have done my favourite toe, which is kind of like a wedge toe that has a 3-needle bind off at the end. And then I have grafted the heel. Now, on the second sock, you might be able to see there is an error on the heel. Because I knit with my things inside out, on the first one, I reminded myself to turn it the right way around to do the heel graft. I forgot to do that on the second one. Some people would go back and redo it. I had cut the ends and like woven them in, etc, etc, and so I didn't want to go back. But also, I know this might sound a bit silly, but it's kind of a nice reminder to me that I've still got lots to learn and that I still make mistakes, and it's such a small one that I don't really mind. So these socks. The base from Dragon Hill Yarn Studios is a blend, 70% merino, 20% yak, 10% nylon. I was super excited to try this blend. I'm going to be honest, and you might have seen it when I was holding the sock up closer to the camera, but they're not wearing particularly well. I have worn these twice, and our house is a building site right now, so it is quite rough and tumble on socks, but I'm getting the yak. It's the yak that is coming out of the sock. It's the dark, soft, fluffy fibre that's coming out. I've already depilled these once and they already look like this again. And I think I don't really mind yarns pilling initially. That's not a big issue for me. You just depill them and it's fine. I think my concern here is that it's all the yak that's coming out. I'm just worried my socks aren't really going to have any yak in them by the end of it. That's my only concern, but I really love the colourway, and this is probably the longest leg I've had on a sock, which was my intention. I set out with the intention to knit a tube of the entire cake of yarn from Dragon Hill, and then got to a point where I just thought this is really long. I don't think I need to knit any more, and that meant I had 29 grams of the self-striping left over. So I'll talk about that a little bit later in terms of what I'm planning to do with that. First finished object. Which says first, only, that I'm showing. On the theme of socks, I will cover more socks in future knitting plans, but I did cast on and complete the cuff of a new sock. I need to do the other one. The reason it's just the cuff at the moment is I have knit this up in a little tiny 25-gram nugget of self-striping yarn that was intended for baby socks. That's literally what the brand has intended, which I bought from Japan, but I want to do it as cuffs on adult socks. I really like these, I think they're really zingy, really love them. So I'm just going to knit this one and then the other cuff, and then I've got a bit of a domino effect with lots of my projects. I kind of need to finish this one to then have the yarn left over to then use it on something else, if that makes any sense. I'm trying to kind of really cross-contaminate, sounds like the wrong word, but you know what I mean. I really want to kind of make sure I'm making the most of my yarn across different projects. So yeah, that was my next whip. On the subject of some whips that you guys have seen before, I have finally made some progress on the brightest whip I think I've ever knitted on. Oh no. Gosh, it's really blowing out this morning. My Downtown Hoodie by Tori Yu has got progress, guys. I think when I last spoke to you, I had done this much of this sleeve. I've now finished that sleeve, put a lovely bit of navy trim on the end, and done the whole other sleeve. So I'm really hoping this weekend I am just going to, the body stitches are on hold, so I'm just going to get those back on a needle, knit the body, and then I've just got the hood and the drawstring to do. In terms of some details about this, so you can kind of see the sleeve's kind of a, I say funky shape. This I'm seeing more and more in people's designs, and I think it fits really well even if it looks a bit funny, because it does kind of map with the curve of your arm. But I won't give away the exact numbers and stuff on my decreases, but suffice it to say I've done a couple more than suggested, and that was just because I like to put my hand into the end of a sleeve and check the fit around my wrist. And if it's feeling too baggy, etc., then yeah, that's how I decide if I'm going to do a few more. Not an exact science, but definitely helps me. And then for the cuffs, I've literally done my own thing, so I will share numbers on these because I did not even look at what the pattern suggests. I've literally just gone ahead and done what I wanted to do. So I've knit 12 rounds of 1x1 rib in the main colour, and then I've done 1 round of 1x1 rib in the navy, and then I have cast off. I've used a cast off that basically just follows the knit stitch pattern, and then you just pull the first stitch over the second, and I really like the finish. So first question for you guys is, I'm going to do the hood in the pink and the drawstrings in the navy. Do I finish the bottom with a navy trim as well, or do I leave all the navy on the kind of top half? Let me know down below in the comments. Genuinely don't know what to do with that one, so let me know. But yeah, other than that, really happy with this sweater. I took a photo and put it up on Instagram the other day, and you can definitely see this line in the body. I don't know how well it's going to come up on camera here. It's probably all right in this light, but there is a line across the body where a section of the yarn had been, correct use of contaminated this time, contaminated with a navy fibre, and I think I'm either going to need to go back over, split the yarn in half so it's thinner, and duplicate stitch over that, or I just decide I don't care too much because I really intend to wear this like you would a jersey hoodie. I'm just going to throw it on, use it when I'm going out the house early in the morning for a walk, use it when I'm like travelling. I think like sitting on trains and cars and stuff, this would be amazing. So that's my intention. And then the final thing that I'm going to be really interested with this sweater is how it washes, because this garment, and I should have said for those who haven't seen it before, this garment, I'm knitting up on 4.5mm needles, and it's knit in Prima yarn in their sustainable, 100% sustainable acrylic base, £2 a ball. And obviously, like, one of the concerns with acrylic in terms of its wearability can just be whether or not the garment keeps its shape, because it doesn't have that spring back nature that wool has. So we will see. But I am optimistic. It just feels lovely as a fabric. It's very soft, doesn't have that kind of plasticky feel. So I'm really excited to wear this. I'm going to put this on the needles for a little bit of a knit night this evening. So that is whip number 1, or whip number 2 I should say. The other whip that you'll be familiar with from the last episode was my George's sweater. This was a tricky one because I've put some time into this, but I feel like you can't really tell, but let's just see. So I've put some more distance into the body. This is the body section. I will show you the back, although again, I'm not sure this garment's the easiest to show on camera, but it's got a V back to it. So this whole garment's knit flat, apart from the sleeves. So yeah, I've put maybe like, I think I've put like 6 decrease repeats, which is not just there's several rows, if not more rows in a decrease repeat. I won't give the full details because even though I'm modifying the pattern, I'm using a portion of the decrease instructions that are in the pattern. So I won't disclose, but I've put in actually quite a lot of extra rows into this since I last showed you. Again, for those landing on this video fresh and who don't have the background on this, I'm knitting this on 5mm needles. This is a pattern by Johanna Gehrisch, also known as Calibri by Johanna on Instagram. And this is the George's sweater. It's got a V-back, raglan shaping, nice long sleeves, and in the original version it's got a massive bow that ties the 2 back sections together at the lower back. I am going to keep the tie feature, but I am going to make it more of like a little kind of knot, little kind of almost like neckerchief style knot as opposed to a big bow. So yeah, really looking forward to it. This is a kind of, I knit pretty much the whole body on this and was finishing the I-cord, and then I've had to go back because the shaping on the V wasn't quite right. So enjoying having this picked up again, enjoying working on this. The fabric is beautiful. This is Knitting for Olive. They're both 4-ply merino and they're mohair in the shade bottle green / slate green, depending which website you're looking at. But yeah, I'm just enjoying kind of picking this up as and when I fancy with very little pressure. And I am coming up with ideas for what I will do with the leftovers of this yarn, because I think I will have yarn left. I mean, I bought enough to make 2 sweaters, so you would hope so. So yeah, we will see what I do with that. Some good progress. Gosh, I hope it doesn't feel like I'm rattling through these, but as I say, I kind of got to set allotted time. I really wanted to sit down and chat with you guys. I've been really excited to share progress with you. It's just kind of getting that balance of making the most of the time and also, as I say, not rattling through it too much. The next project I have been working on, and actually it feels funny because it feels like I haven't picked this up in ages, but I knit a whole section straight after recording the last episode, so yeah. This is the Big Love cardigan by Ankestrik. It's a little bit crumpled, but you can see the gorgeous texture. I'm knitting this in Wooldreamers Manchalopi in the bright orange colourway and a cake of Coast, which is a base from Holst Garn, and this is in the colourway Chianti. It's like a wool silk blend. So I'm knitting this up on 4mm needles, I believe. Let's have a check. Yeah, 4mm needles. And basically I have knit the front shoulder, right shoulder, since the last episode. I think I was up here last time, so I've knit all of this. Now in the pattern, it gives both a row count and a measurement for how long you want to make the back shoulder panel and each of the front shoulder panels before you put the stitches on hold. Now, I've knit that measurement, so unless my measuring and my row gauge are off, I have done what the pattern has told me to do. However, that for me does not seem deep enough for my arm and to then join underneath the arm. So I am, I think, going to put the front on hold, and I'm going to block this to try and work out whether or not it's going to grow from here. Because if I do need to add length, then I need to pick the back up. I need to do the back longer, this longer, and then knit the whole front left as well. So this was cracking along at quite a good pace, but I think I've just paused because I wasn't sure if I wanted to block it. I wasn't sure if I just wanted to go for it and make it fit even without blocking. It was the whole thing, but I still absolutely love the colour I'm getting by combining these 2 yarns. I love the texture. I didn't do a provisional cast on for the collar that the pattern recommends, and it recommends that because the collar folds down. So if you have a seam like I do on the inside, it will end up potentially on the outside when you fold the collar down. I'm just going to cover that with a bit of ribbon. I could have been smarter and thought about it, and when I picked up that cast on edge, I should have done it on the other side, so it basically was showing on the right side. I didn't do that. The reason I didn't do a provisional cast on was because I'm using an unspun yarn. I just didn't think, I'm not very good at doing them, and I just didn't think it would go very well. And what else can I say? Yeah, I think I'm just going to put some ribbon over that, but if I'd thought more about it, I would have just made the seam appear on the right side, and then you wouldn't be able to see it when you folded the collar down. But anyway, other than that, this is going really well. Hopefully in the next episode I will have made a decision as to whether or not I'm going to knit the pieces longer and go from there, or if I'm going to block it first. I have a feeling I might just knit them longer, is my thought, but let's see. But really enjoying it. Could not, if you're not sure about using an unspun yarn, I could not recommend more holding it with something else, whether that's a mohair, or it doesn't have to be mohair, it could be a wool yarn, could be whatever you like. In my instance, it's a wool silk blend. Okay, the next whip to show you is actually a bit of designing, which is really exciting. So, I really wish you could squish this through the camera. This is a design, a summer top design that I'm working on. It's got a really, I think, fascinating construction, which hopefully blends the best of tailoring with comfort, with enjoyment of knitting. Yeah, we're trying to tick all the boxes. Let's see. This is, I'm knitting this up in Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. Lots of Knitting for Olive in this episode, which is actually quite unlike me, but I've never tried this base, but it just felt like it would be the perfect thing for this particular design. This is in the colourway Olive, and currently basically this portion is double knit. So I'm creating 2 fabrics at once, and I'm working this on 3mm needles. It's going very fast. This doesn't look like very much, but as it is common in design processes, this represents about 4 attempts at this to get the kind of get it right, essentially. I will share with you the design process for this particular garment on these podcast episodes, or equally if you prefer I can do kind of a separate video on it. But do just let me know down below what you would like to hear about, what interests you about the design process. I am by no means an expert, as many of you know. I'm still very early on in my designing experience, but yeah, if I can share anything that would be of interest, I'm more than happy to. So the design for the top is basically going to be a one-shouldered asymmetric top with a bandeau band that goes around one arm, so the kind of opposite arm to the shoulder that's going up. It's going to have a button placket down the side. I think it's going to be a button placket. It might be a hook and eye. I need to decide on that. Whichever one will work best. But it's going to be a really interesting construction. It's hopefully going to have quite an adequate amount of support around the bust. So if you want to work with a strapless bra or no bra, then it should work. And there is quite a heavy degree of tailoring to your specific measurements, but in a very kind of simple, uncomplicated manner. So I'm really excited about this design. I really want to whip it up pretty soon. I don't know if I will do a call for testers or if I'll do a bit more of an informal test knit, but the hope is this will come out kind of end of May, early June, perfectly ready for the summer period. But yeah, really enjoying working on this. So I've literally done this amount just kind of on and off over the course of yesterday evening. So it is going quite quickly. Yeah, really enjoying it. Right, my next whip is also a very recent and new one. So at the moment, the reason I've been recording down here, this is in my living room, and I've not been recording up in my kind of yarn knitting study room, is we've been having some plumbing work done around the house, and very long story short, they've basically had to run a load of piping through that room, which is really frustrating when I've only just finished it, from a kind of like interior point of view. But it means they've moved all the furniture into the middle of the room, like the room's back to looking like a bit of disaster. There's like exposed piping in the room and all sorts. And I don't want to start moving it all back and cleaning the room and stuff until we've done a final check on all the plumbing. So basically that room's out of action. But in the process of that and kind of trying to, I've had multiple rooms just kind of full of boxes of stuff that where I've moved back into the property, or that stuff that you, like from a year ago that we kind of just dumped in a box to clear it away and put it away. All that kind of stuff I've actually finally been sorting through. And I'm finding lots of different things I'd not forgotten about, but just, yeah, rediscovering things. So one of them is I've got a whole selection of these little kind of pear-shaped balls of yarn that I picked up at Wonderwall Wales a year ago. Gosh, time flies. A year ago, I think. I can't remember the name of the stall, and it was kind of I want to say like kind of like a bric-a-brac. It had like lots of different little bits and pieces, lots of vintage things. It wasn't really like a yarn stall. They had like buttons, they had like old jars and all sorts. And they just had these big baskets of these balls for 50p each, and I picked up a whole selection of colours. Anyway, I am finally crocheting them up into a blanket. I am not really a crocheter and I don't really know technical names for stitches, but I'm basically just doing like a single crochet, and I'm only picking up one leg of the stitch each time, and it's kind of the back leg, so that I get these kind of rows, not rows of stitches, but I don't know if I can show you on the camera, but you get these kind of lines here of like bars. So anyway, I'm really enjoying it. I'm striping these two colours together. I'm going to see how far that gets me in a long strip, and then I've got these to go on either side. And the idea is for it to be kind of like a lap blanket for in here in the living room. It's very coarse yarn, so I wouldn't make a sweater out of it. I was considering a rug, but yeah, I'm just going to go for this kind of relatively loose crochet. I'm using a 5mm crochet hook, just a really simple one. I'd love to get one with like a gel grip, but for now we're working with this, and yeah, just a couple of rows on that, but really excited and love this colour combo. A little bit different for me. We are now getting into future knitting plans, and I'm really hoping the battery on this camera will stick with me. So this is my leftover Dragon Hill yarn self-striping, and I'm going to combine that with some aloe sock wool, which is a 75-25 wool polyamide blend from Highland Garn. I picked this up from a recent trip to Beautiful Knitters in London, and there is a video coming in the next week of my trip there, and a little bit of a yarn shop tour. I absolutely love that shop. It's one of my kind of destination yarn shops, and I hope to be going back very, very soon. But I think I will knit cuff, then kind of leg, foot in these on another pair of socks. Also in my knitting future is the second sock in my Gepard Garn Cash sock. I have knit one, and now I just need to knit the sister sock. So that's a definite, no debates about that. But I do have debates over the following. I picked up this, which is leftovers from my Tale of Morocco socks, and some of this, which I believe is either some Filcolana Arwetta or some Lang Yarns Jowl sock. But I'm kind of feeling the two together, kind of feeling like a stripy t-shirt vibe. I was thinking maybe the Rocket Tee by Tanis Fibre Arts, Tanis Lavelli. What do you think, guys? T-shirt vibes. Or I can finally cast on what I said I'd cast on in Japan, which is a collar design, collar/slipover design in these two. Gorgeous. Or my other thought is I kind of want to do like a button-down short sleeve cardi, and funnily enough, I've had this idea in my mind for a while, and then I've just seen that Petite has knit one. So I'm really quite intrigued by that. Or there's that shawl that I said last episode I was interested in knitting, the one with the rosamine motif. I just don't know. I want to cast on all the things, guys. I've also wanted to cast on a flea stitch and colour work cardigan from the Strangeberry recipe. Then I will also go through with you. I've got some patterns that I want to. There's more, guys, there's more. So I also have been looking at, give Give me one moment. So organised. So there's also been some patterns I've been looking at. So one is and I will put these up on screen because it'll be better for you guys rather than me waving my phone around the camera, but apologies, I'm going to be reading off my phone screen. So there is the Faye Summer Top by Irene Lynn, which I was looking at last year. This is a DK weight summer top with just the most beautiful texture. So I'm looking at that. I am also looking at the Tayval socks by Sari Nordland. Those are also DK weight, and I'd need to make sure I got ones with DK with nylon in, which I don't know if I have in stash. I could always put a fingering weight with a mohair. But do you think I should wait until the autumn to knit those? Those are very like hygge autumnal socks. There's the Twin Rocks hat by Kalura Hudson, which is designed for knit picks, and I just really love the cable on that. There is Sweater number 20 by My Favourite Things Knitwear. Now, I've not knit anything from this designer before, and I would like to. This sweater, they're saying is an Aran weight, but then the yarn they're calling for is an Aran weight plus a light fingering, which I feel like heads you in the direction of chunky, but I think I'd probably knit this in a worsted plus something, a mohair or something. But it looks really gorgeous, and it's probably quite a quick knit given the gauge it's at. But yeah, I've never knit anything. My only one thing about that, and it's the same for the summer top that I showed you, is both only have like dropping my phone and hitting the tripod, both only have like 3 sizes, and that just worries me slightly that I won't get the kind of look and the ease that's in the pictures, because I should assume that each of those 3 sizes is kind of will capture multiple different bust circumferences. So we'll see. But guys, I'd love to know down below in the comments, what do you think I should cast on? Because I've got so much creativity at the moment, so much inspiration, so many ideas, and there's not enough time in the day to knit them all. So, and I don't just want to buy all the patterns and they just sit there. So what do you think I should knit on next out of all of those options? Yeah, let me know down below. I'll put in the description box a list of all the options. So yeah, just let me know down below in the comments. I'd really, really appreciate your help on selecting what to do next. So that is all my knitting and that tiny bit of crochet. I do have a little bit of a spinning update. It's not very long, so if you're not a spinny person, feel free to skip kind of 5 minutes or so. And if you are a spinner, then it's not going to be the most technical. But I have done a little bit more spinning on my drop spindle and have spun this, which I'm very happy with. This is almost like a little sampler. I've got a little bit more of it. I have no idea what the fibre is. I want to say it's got Polworth in it. I ordered this fibre back in the pandemic. Gosh, feels like forever ago. And I didn't really know very much about spinning, and this fibre has been terribly prepped. It's just been like cut with scissors, and it's just not been very well cleaned, and there's bits coming off it all over the place. But I do really like the yarn I've produced. Here, I think I will ply it when I spin up the other bit of this fibre that I've got left. But I put it on hold because I got really excited about spinning some fibre that I found in a little tiny shop in Stroud in the Cotswolds. I was in the area for some meetings, and I was just having a bit of a walk around whilst I was waiting for my train, and I found this. So I must say I have braided this all because it was kind of just wound in a big ball, but in County Crafts they have a whole load of wool top for spinning, and they're selling it for £5 per 100 grams. So I picked up 100 grams of this beautiful navy blue colour. I just think it's got such a vibrancy to it. Oh, I think it's gorgeous. And then I picked up 300 grams of this beauty. It's coming up more purple on camera, but it's just like sunsetty colours. It's pinks, it's oranges. It's just gorgeous. It's super, super soft. I think the woman in the shop said it's merino, but I think there might be some silk blended in there. And then I picked up this one, which has definitely got some silk. It's got some neps in it, and it's got just loads of different colours in there. Now this is the one that I have chosen to start spinning. So I had 100 grams of this. This is approximately 50 grams. I've just pulled the fibre apart vertically, how it kind of naturally splits. I think this is probably a bit under 25 grams. And then this is my spinning so far. So it's coming out kind of like a kind of quite heavy single, but yeah, really enjoying it. So that's my little spinning update. Right, my camera is flashing at me, so I am gonna have to leave you guys to it. Sorry that was quite a quick run through, but I hope lots to think about there. Do let me know down below in the comments what you think I should knit on. And if you get a chance, I'd really love it if you could go over and check out my recent video showing everything I've knit January to March and how I've been wearing it. But other than that, I will leave you to have a lovely week. I'll speak to you very, very soon. Happy knitting.